Students, I am NK Thukral from Edupedia World. Students, we have been discussing on planning. I mean to say, we had discussed in the previous session on the features of planning and what are the limitations of planning, what are the advantages of planning, and what is the importance of planning. So today I am going to talk on the planning process. Planning process involves number of steps. Let us discuss what are the steps in planning process. Number one step is setting objectives. The planning process begins with the identifying and setting the objectives of the organization. Objectives determine where to reach. They determine the destination of the organization efforts. For example, objective of an organization could mean an increase in sales by 20%. Objective should be stated clearly for all departments, units and employees. If the end result is clear, it becomes easier to work towards the goal. Department need to set their own objectives within the broad framework of the organization philosophy. Next step is developing premises. The next step is the establishment of planning premises. Planning premises are the assumptions and predictions about the future. The assumptions are the basis of planning. Forecasting is important in premising. It helps in making realistic assumptions about sales, cost, prices, product, etc. in near future. This requires a collection of data on present trend and future possibilities. Planning premises are the assumptions made about the future on the basis of which plans are drawn. The base material may be in the form of forecast, existing plans, or any past information about policies. So, to make planning more effective, sound estimates or forecasts should be made about future environment, that is, market, competitors, economic policies, international policies, etc. So let's take an example. Forecasting is important in developing premises as it is a technique of gathering information. Forecast can be made about the demand for a particular product, policy change, interest rates, prices of capital goods and tax rates. So next step in planning process is identifying alternative courses of action. After setting the objectives and making assumptions about the future, the next step is to determine the alternative courses of action. For every plan, there are a number of options. All the alternative courses of action should be identified. In case of an important project, more alternatives should be generated and thoroughly discussed amongst the members of the organization. For example, if the objective of a company is growth of the business, then the company has various possible alternatives like expansion in same product line or diversifying in new areas or joint venture and so on. Again, I may tell you that the manager of the organization should try to find out all possible alternatives. At the time of developing alternatives, he should screen out most viable alternatives. So he has to analyze in detail a limited number of alternatives. Next step is evaluating alternative course of action. After identifying and listing out possible alternative courses, the next step is to evaluate such alternatives. Each course will have many variables which needs to be weighed against each other. The positive and negative points of each alternative are thoroughly examined in the light of the objective to be achieved. All alternatives should be compared and evaluated in the light of feasibility, cost, consequences and benefits and so on. So this is a step also for evaluating the alternative courses. Another step is selecting an alternative. After evaluating the various alternatives, the next step is to select the most suitable course of action. This is the real point of decision making. The alternatives to be selected should be the most feasible, profitable with least negative consequences. So what I mean to say that it should be most feasible and most profitable. Sometimes a combination of plans may be selected instead of one best course of action or one course of plan. When a plan cannot be subjected to a mathematical analysis, then subjectivity, judgment and experience of the manager may play an important part in selecting the most viable alternative. The manager will have to apply various permutations and combinations and select the best possible course of action. So after selecting an alternative, the next step is to implement the plan. The next step is to develop detailed sub-plans for its implementation. Derivative plans are required to support the overall plans. The derivative plans are developed in the framework of overall plans. These are drawn up with respect to different areas of activity. Further, I may tell you students that the plans are of no use until these are put into action. So this step is concerned with transforming the plan into action by activating other managerial functions. The plan has to be effectively implemented by the real executors. It involves organizing the various resources and securing cooperation, participation, and commitment of the members of the organization. Another last step is follow-up action. Follow-up action means communicating the plans to all. It is very important to get the company operation of the subordinates at every stage of the implementation. For this purpose, the plans should be communicated and explained to them so that they can get the clear picture or what is to be done. An organization is not benefited from planning process until they are put into action. And follow-up action after implementation of the plan, the last step is to periodically review the existing plans to ensure their relevance and effectiveness. The plans must be constantly monitored, and in case of any deficiency, they should be modified or adjusted. So to ensure the plans are proceeding along the right lines, the actual performance is compared with the planned performance. In this way, any shortcoming can be noted and suitable remedial action can be taken. Let's take an example. If the target of a company is to produce 12,000 cars per year, then the company must ensure that at least 1,000 cars are produced per month. In case of any shortage, necessary action needs to be taken at that stage. So these are the steps in planning process. Now students, after discussing the various steps in planning process, let's go ahead and see what are the types of plans. As you can see in the slide, first let us understand what is plan. Plan is a document showing detailed scheme, program and strategy worked out in advance to achieve the objectives. So what is the purpose is that first objective should be there and we must see that objectives are achieved. For that, a document is created that is called plan. So what's given in the definition? Plan is a document showing detailed scheme, program and strategy to achieve the objectives. Plan is a specific action which aims to help the organization in achieving its objectives. Developing plan is important because there may be more than one means of reaching a particular goal. With the help of logical plans, it is easier to achieve the objectives of an organization. To provide guidance to managers for making decisions and solving problems, various kinds of plans are drawn. So let's see what are the type of plans. There are two types of plan we can group into that. Number one is standard plan and what is single use plans. And first let us understand what is standing plan and what is single use plans. Standing plan is one which is used again and again whenever a particular situation arises. For example, objectives, strategies, policies, etc. So these are standing plans. Standing plans are used over and over again because they focus on organization situations that occur repeatedly. Whereas in case of single use plan is one time plan which is specifically designed to achieve a particular goal. So a goal is particular, specific goal is there for a specific period, I mean to say, and that objective is to achieve that. That is called single use plans. For example, it's a budget. So budget is a single use plans. Now let's see what are the features of standing plans and single use plans. In case of standing plans, they are used over and over again. I mean to say, standing plans are used over and over again because they focus on organization situations that occur repeatedly. Another feature is usually made once. Standing plans, they are usually made once and retain their value over a period of years while undergoing revisions and various updates. Another feature of standing plan is generally prepared by top level. Standing plans help in decision making on problems which are of recurring nature. They are known as multi-use plans or repeated use plans, and they are generally prepared by top level. So these are the features of standing plans. Now let's come to the features of single-use plans. Number one feature is single-use plans are made for handling non-recurring problems. That is, they can't be used again and again. They become obsolete after their purpose has been achieved. Further, the length of the single plan based on project. The length of the single-use plan differs depending on the length of the project. A single-use plan may only last one day or may last week or months. That's why called single-use plans. Another feature is specific plans. I mean to say generally prepared by middle and operational level. They are also known as specific plans as they are formulated to fit the specific situations, and they are generally prepared by middle and operational level. So students, after discussing on two types of plans, let us go ahead and see how do we compare specifically standing plans with single-use plans. As you can see in the slide, I have given the basis and we have make a differences between standing plans and single-use plans. Let's talk briefly one by one. Number one is meaning. In case of standing plans, plans are referred to plans which can be used again and again whenever a particular situation arises. Whereas in case of single-use plans refer to plans formulated to meet the requirements of a particular situation and to accomplish specific objectives. Another is objectives. Standing plans are developed for activities which are of recurring nature, whereas single-use plans are developed for activities which are not likely to be repeated in future. Another is period. Standing plans are formulated for a long period, whereas single-use plans are generally formulated for a short period. Stability. Standing plans are relatively stable as they are used over and over again, whereas in case of single-use plans, they have less stability as they are discarded when the specific situation or project is over. Another is scope. Standing plans have a wide scope as they involve more than one department of business function, whereas single-use plans generally have a narrow scope as they are formulated to fit the specific situation. Example. In case of standing plans, I can give you the example: procedure for processing an order or recruitment of employees. And in case of single-use plans, the example is cash budget to show expected inflow and outflow of cash for a specific period in advance. So after discussing at length standing plans and single-use plans and comparison, let's go ahead student, let's see what are the objectives of plan. First, let me tell you what are the objectives. How do we can define? Objectives are the ends which the management seeks to achieve within a specific period or within a given time period. So what is important for the objective? How you can define means they are the ends, where the road ends, which the management seeks to achieve within a given time period. Now let's see what are the objectives and what it represents. As you can see in the slide, represent endpoint of planning. Number two, usually set by top management. And third, expressed in specific terms. And fourth, define the future state of affairs. So I can say that objectives of the plan represents the end point of planning. All other managerial activities are also directed towards achieving these objectives, and they are usually set by the top management, and different departments may have their own objectives. Objectives should be expressed in specific terms. That means they should be measurable in quantitative terms. And also objectives define the future state of affairs which the organization aims to achieve. They serve as a guide for overall business planning. For example, the objective of a mobile company can be to increase the mobile users for 10% in 2 years. This is the objective. This is a goal. It is given, and within 2 years means time period is there. That's why we say the objectives are the ends and management seeks to achieve within a given time period. So these are the features of the objective, you can say, and how we can define these. So students, today we have discussed on the planning processes, steps in planning processes, and type of plans and objectives. So let's wind up today for this session, students. In the next session, we will discuss on strategies and policies in planning. That's all. Thank you. Bye-bye.